Okay, so I'm going to demo how to use the data merge and variables within Photoshop to automate a playing card template. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is make sure that you have each element that you need a variable for on a separate layer. So you'll notice I've got strength and then I've got str, int, spd. So these are just going to be replaced by number values, okay? But this is on a separate layer. Okay, these are all separate layers. Okay, my description, that's going to be a paragraph description. So I actually want to make that a paragraph. So when you create a text box, for instance, you can click and drag to make a box. Okay, so that's how you make a paragraph, and then the text will fill that box. If you don't do that, then it will just be a single line that goes on forever. Okay, don't pay attention to my bad color choices. Red probably is not the best choice for this. Your templates look a lot better, but you'll get the idea here. Okay, I've also just, for the image, it's just a pink square. I've just kind of hidden it behind this other template here. But my image right now is just a pink square. You know, yours can be whatever color you want, but that's just a placeholder. It's going to be replaced by an image. Okay, and I just called that image. So name your text boxes and whatever. Name them something that you can remember, something appropriate. And once you've got your template set up, then we can go to Image, Variables, and Define. Okay, so there are a whole bunch. You see every layer, it is possible to define, but I'm only going to define the ones that I want to replace with values from my spreadsheet. So for instance, name. I want to replace that, and I put name because that's the heading in my spreadsheet. So that means that anything under the name heading in my spreadsheet would be put there. Okay? Let me just pull up my spreadsheet quick just so that makes sense. Okay, let's bump up the size here. Okay, so this is what my spreadsheet looks like. I've got the name column. Okay, so when I say in Photoshop, text replacement name, that's going to look for this column. Okay, that's why I have it like that. Okay, next, go through, find image. So I'm replacing that with image. And if I go back to my spreadsheet, you can see I've got an image column. And in my image column, I just have the file name of my image. Okay? So as long as the file name of your image is in the same directory, or same folder rather, as your spreadsheet, then you can just put the file name. You don't have to put the full path. Okay? So it might be helpful if you're getting images off the internet to name them something convenient. Okay? Sometimes images have weird long names. So you might want to rename them something convenient like I've done. Okay, so go through and you can, so SPD, that's my speed stat. I've just replaced that with the speed column and int for intelligence and so on. Okay, I think that's all of them. The description was the last one. Okay, you'll notice I only did 3. You guys have 5, but same thing applies. Okay, so define your variables. Once you've defined them, then we can go ahead and go File, Import, Variable Data Sets. Okay, and this is where we import our spreadsheet. Now, the only trick with this is it's looking for what's called a CSV file, or comma-separated values. So you can't use just a standard Excel file. So once you've created your spreadsheet, you can go ahead and save as, and I'll just save it in the same file. And you want to save your type as a CSV, comma delimited. Okay, there are a couple other CSV formats, but this one is the most common, and that's the one that it's looking for. Okay, so go ahead and save that. And Excel can open CSV files just the same as a spreadsheet, but Photoshop's looking for that certain format. Okay, so we go back here. You can select that file. I'm just going to change, it's looking for text files by default. I'll change that to CSV. Here's my data merge example file that I was showing you. because the file, oh, okay. So it doesn't like it if it's already open. Let's try that again. Okay. So make sure you close Excel before loading it into Photoshop. Okay, so nothing has really changed. You're probably thinking, okay, what's all that work for? Well, if we go to Image, Apply Dataset, then I can pick one of these datasets, and I can actually click this box Preview, and you'll see that it's now pulled in this information from my spreadsheet. And again, I apologize for the bad color choices. I just did this very quickly to show you guys. Okay, and then here's Batman and the Flash. I got it. The red on the gray is too hard to read, isn't it? That's okay? Okay. But anyhow, you'll see, and it's a good idea to go through once you've got all your data in there, because you might realize that some of your descriptions are too long and they, extend outside your text box, or they're cut off or something. So it's a good idea to kind of proof them and go through. Another tip that I would recommend, so if I hit apply, it's actually going to apply that data set to the template. Okay, so I probably don't want to do that. What you want to do, once you're all done, so that's a good way to preview them. Go through here, make sure they're all good. Then you can go ahead and go File, Export, and Datasets as Files. Okay? And if you're just exporting, you're probably fine to do it as a JPEG. It's only giving me a PSD though. I guess you could type in JPEG, try that. Set your folder. It'll actually export all your files. However, if you do it as a PSD, then you could go in and tweak the ones that need tweaking. Like if there's one where the text is not looking quite right, you could go in and just edit that one. Okay, so that could be useful for you. Okay, the last thing I want to mention is for images. You might have to do a bit of prep for images. So you'll see this is the rough size of my image. So what I ended up doing, I'll just use a magic wand to select this, and Control-C to copy. If you make a new document that's the same size as the image that you're going to be putting in. Okay, so if I want an image, so let's say I want to add Wonder Woman or maybe Aquaman to my card. So I'll find an image of Aquaman. I want to make sure it's decently high res because we're working with 300 DPI. And let's say, I don't know, this one's kind of cool. Okay, so what I want to do is copy that, and I'm just going to actually paste it inside this image kind of template that I made, and just Control-T to resize it to make sure it fits that box. Otherwise, you're working with different resolutions, your images might come out wonky. So it might be good to have one group member work on prepping images to make sure they're all consistent. Okay? And then I can go ahead and go File, Save As. Save this as a JPEG. I'll call it Aquaman. Okay? And then I'll show you in my spreadsheet how I can add one more. So I'll just go ahead and go Aquaman. What do you figure his strength is? Maybe like a 6? Maybe a 7? He's pretty strong. Speed, he's pretty fast underwater. Maybe, I'll give him a 5. And intelligence? Well, he can talk to fish, so he actually knows a lot about what's going on, right? So I'm going to give him a 4, so he can at least beat Superman in intelligence, maybe. Otherwise, Superman's better than him in every stat. So, description, I'll say Aquaman is the king of Atlantis. Yeah. Okay, and then I'll just put in my image Aquaman.jpg. Okay? So I'll go ahead and save that. So saving that as a CSV. Close down Excel. And then I may have to import my data set again. Okay, so I'll just select that, import it again. Now when I go to Image, Apply Dataset, you'll see there's a 4th data set for Aquaman. Okay, and the image is the correct size. Okay, I'll show you one more example in case you wanted a transparent image, as some of you might have. So let me just go to Search Tools. Let's see if I can find a transparent Aquaman. Okay, perfect. Who's this guy? Never seen him before. Okay, I'm going to use him as my image just for fun. Okay, so PNGs are a little bit funny because they don't like being copied and pasted. You usually have to save them, okay? So I'll just save this here. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so PNGs, they don't like being copied and pasted because what ends up happening is it doesn't preserve the transparency. So if you just save it to your downloads and then you drag it from Chrome like I'm doing here, then you can see the transparency is preserved. So this is not really the right size image for this box that I have, but I'll just show you. So I can do the exact same thing, but I want to go File, Save As, and I want to just save it as a PNG. Oops, yeah, that's right. A PNG will preserve the transparency. Call this Aquaman and save it. Okay. Now I just want to update my spreadsheet. So I just have to change the image to a PNG. Okay, so that will look for that PNG image instead. Okay, save that. And I'll just have to import the data set again. Okay, so now I'm going to go to Image, Apply Dataset. You can see that the Aquaman image, well, hang on. It's actually replacing this, this one here. So in order to make sure the transparency is working, I'm just going to draw something on the background here, like some squiggles, okay? Just so we can see. Image, Apply Dataset. Okay, so you can see that the transparency is working, so you can see the background behind him. Okay? So I think that's basically it. It is possible to use this data merge thing with turning on and off colors and on and off icons and stuff. I don't know if anyone is actually needing to do that. I did that with my wizard game that I showed you, where I had like different types of spells. So that's a little bit more advanced. I can show you that if you're doing that, but otherwise this should get you started.